What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my floor. Today we are going to be looking at the Fender Toolmaster Pro and put it up against the Neural DSP Quad Cortex. We're going to be talking on-screen adjustments or on-board adjustments and basically how to build things from the preset. If you're new here to the channel, my name's Steve Sterlacci and I do a lot of stuff with digital amp modeling, all the major brands, all the major players, a lot of comparisons, tone build-throughs, and all that sort of stuff. So if that's your thing, consider subscribing to the channel. So today, we have the Quad Cortex, we have the Toolmaster Pro. Both are supposed to be flagship touchscreen units. Fender kind of ripped off the whole twisty knob foot switch thingy. So we're going to be comparing basically anything that you could do on the unit, how to build a preset, how to make adjustments at a gig or a rehearsal. The stuff that's really important to me. I mean, this isn't meant to be a scientific thing here. This is kind of me as a professional touring guitar player and somebody that plays live for a living. I think about this stuff, about how I need to make adjustments on the fly. It's hard with these because they're all so good at different things and they're all so good at what they do. It's really hard to get any of these to sound bad, first of all. That's why I like doing the comparisons like this, because tonally aside, I like to focus on workflow and what's going to work best for me. Because at the end of the day, whatever works best and whatever's easiest for me to use is going to be the one that wins out. So I am fully of the mind that I can make any of these modeling units sound the same. I'll still sound like me. I won't sound any better or any worse on any one of these units. So tone aside, we're just going to be looking at onboard UI and the touchscreen stuff. I've been critical of both of these units so far because I do think that there are ways that they could all improve. And that's going to be my opinion. My opinion is always going to be how these can improve, not what are they super great at. But some of that will be in here too, I guess. So let's just get started. Obviously, Quad Cortex, way smaller. Very, very much smaller. Toolmaster Pro is significantly larger, but you get the scribble strips and you get the backlit knobs. I do think it looks a little cheap having the light above the foot switch instead of around it. I do like the look of the Toolmaster Pro with the backlit foot switches. We have two knobs here on the Toolmaster Pro. One is your master volume. One is able for you to cycle through your presets, kind of like the Helix has. Whereas the Quad Cortex just has a big volume knob. So the main difference here is that for the presets, you could scroll through with this, or you could just bank through and select your presets this way. I mean, I guess that's kind of a wash. If I'm going to go into preset mode on here, you can't really bank to a new set of presets, so we're kind of stuck here, right? And yeah, see, like this is a weird thing where if you want to do this where you're banking through presets, say you got to go find a preset, there's really no way to do it with your feet on the Quad Cortex. I would think that when you're in this mode, maybe the arrows could go up and down, but that's not the case. This is just going to bank. It's actually going to do nothing in this mode. And then it'll bank you. You could go through your preset selection using the up and down arrows, or at the end of the day, just tap it and go to your preset. That way you could do the exact same thing here on the Fender. Another thing that's going to come up a lot right now, did you see that? So you can't, I feel like tapping the preset name would bring you to the preset list, but anyway, you go to the list. But yeah, let's look at building out a preset. So basic layout, obviously we can see that here. The interesting thing about these two is that Quad Cortex, you have 4 lanes or rows, whatever you want to call them. On the Fender, you only have 1 if you're using 1 instrument. But then you have these preset things, which I'm not a fan of. I'd rather be able to put those in myself. I don't want these automatically done. And then what if you decide halfway through a preset you want to add a parallel path, for example? Things get really wonky and weird if you start doing that. So I'm not a huge fan of the preset path. I feel like when you're using units at this level, these are top of the line professional units, you should be able to program your own signal path and your own signal chain. One thing I don't like is that you can't go from lane 1 to lane 2 or row 1 to row 2. So if you're on row 1 and you fill it up, it only offers you to go to row 3, which is annoying. I think they say it's, I guess they're trying to do what's best for you DSP wise, which I never understood. So I'd like to make this my multiple out and have two signal paths or two full lanes, two full rows to work with. Then I could see everything, and then I could put a second instrument on here. So typically I'll control my guitar and our lead singer's guitar, and I'll put my signal path up here. This is how I do it on Helix at least. My signal path is these two, her signal path is these two, and they're separate rigs. And somebody's here and Audrey's barking at them. Where were we? We're talking about building a signal path, right? So right off the top, to add something on the quad Cortex, and I like this a lot better, I can actually press anywhere on the grid and get my menus. I actually love that because I always want to add my amp over here, and you have your amp captures, all your stuff here. So say I want to add an amp. Obviously you could use your captures and stuff, whatever. This is all arbitrary. Anything I'm doing here is arbitrary, so none of this really matters. So I'm just going to add an amp, and I'm going to add a cabinet. You can add a stereo cabinet, which is going to be two cabs. Let's just say we're doing a mono. I don't even know what I picked amp-wise. Hold on. Let's do a 212 Sir and take a look. So even on the mono cabinet, you have two mics. Whereas now if I'm going to, I'm just going to hit check mark there. So yeah, I like to add my amp and cab here with room in front of it and room below it. So I typically like to put my preamp effects on here. This is just my workflow. Again, this is just something for me, how I do things. Compressors, wahs, drive pedals, boost pedals, all go on this top row, and then I will put the rest underneath it. So let's add an amp on here. I have to go add block, select a node, then I've got to go amp head. We're just picking arbitrary examples. Now I've got to add a cabinet. So one thing, the selections obviously are way less on the ToneMaster Pro. They really, I think, undershipped quantity here. I mean, there's really not many options. So now I have my amp and cabinet are in the middle here. I can't select where they go. And then just looking at the cabinet section, here you have the ability to mix two mics, blend them together, where on the ToneMaster Pro you are just stuck with one mic, and there's no way to have a dual mic or a dual cabinet unless you now go into your instrument and then you put a parallel path, hit confirm, then you've got to drag this here, add another cabinet here. So now I've got to hit add block to here, and I've got to go through this whole process to get my second cabinet. So you've got to do all of this to get your second microphone on the cabinet. So there, basically this whole thing took me, I already have it here. I have my 57 and a ribbon mic, and if I want this to be a 121, yeah, quad Cortex, way faster to build out a basic amp and two mic rig. To now add things. You can hit add block here, and you can add wherever you want in between, before, after, wherever you're going to be going. Let's say we want to add a drive pedal. I'm going to go to effects, say blues breaker, confirm, and there's my pedal, and there's my settings. So now I'm going to go here, overdrive, guitar, Brit blues. I feel it a lot quicker. That was in my left hand too. I'm going left hand on the quad Cortex. I feel like the touchscreen on the quad is so much faster, if I'm being honest here. Let's see here. A little bit more instant. I get that the Fender wants to page up and scroll, whatever. So while you're here now, we have pedals. You have your lit knobs here, control the quad Cortex, and you have, why is this controlling my cabinet? And we've got a bug. Perfect timing. So right now, my effect pedal's held up. My blues breaker's up here, but I've got cabinet parameters. Why do I have cabinet parameters? What the heck's going on here? Okay, why am I getting cabinet parameters? Alright, so more things that the Fender needs to get figured out. I mean, this is, I guess, a growing pain thing. This is something that probably will be fixed with firmware, but this is just bizarre to me. Is it because I switched my path? Do you think so? Now I know I have to delete this. I'm going to go and try to fix this now. This is workflow killer. Not a fan. Okay, let's see what happens now. Nope. I'm still getting my cabinet. Why am I getting my cabinet settings? Okay, that worked. There we go. Jeez. That's a little bit annoying. But now when I scroll through here... Okay. Sorry I'm doing this live on camera because this is real. I mean, this is the stuff that I'm going to be considering when I'm thinking about which one I'm going to take to a gig. Right now, I don't want to deal with crap like this. So if I leave this again... Okay, so now we're normal. Okay, so whatever I did, I don't know why, but I fixed it. Okay, so you've got your knobs here, you've got your knobs here. Now, something that I'm going to edge Quad Cortex on. When you pull up your parameters here, so you've got your parameters pulled up, right? You have your pedal icon is displayed here. You have your way less sexy looking parameters here. When you're on the Fender, you don't have the ability to use your foot switches. So if I were to put something, if I was to assign it, like this is just arbitrary random stuff. So if I were to just do this, right? I'm going to foot switch assign this one on off for the blues breaker. So, I just changed presets. Worth making sure that you're in stomp mode. Ugh. I feel like they need to make an editing mode. Like when you're in editing or building a preset, there's a mode that doesn't let you switch presets until you say yes to a prompt. That shouldn't be something that's there all the time, obviously, because then you would lose your gapless presets, because once you bypass a pedal, it becomes edited. So you lose your preset switching. So I think there should be a mode where it's like, you're locked into this preset. I'm building this. This is edit mode, where I don't have to worry about changing presets on accident. The Quad Hat doesn't have anything like that also, so that's just something worth noting. So now I've got to add my blocks again. Okay, and we're back to where we were. Foot switch mode. That's a me thing. I know. It's my mistake. I will get better at this as we go. Okay, so now I have my bypass assign right there. Quad Cortex is stupid and still makes you auto assign, even though they said in a video that you can turn it off. It's not true yet. Hopefully it's true soon. So here, I could bypass my pedal while my parameters are up. When I'm on this, I lose the ability, I lose my whole floorboard. So you're pretty much able to continue using your pedals as is on the Quad Cortex, which to me is really useful. Sometimes if you're just bending over and you're adjusting your tone knob, for example, and it's like, okay, now I have to play. Like you're playing and you just tried to adjust something quick and it's not totally adjusted yet, but you had to come in for a certain part. Now you can still bypass and make an assignment or do something with your foot switches. You don't lose it. If I make an adjustment and it's not enough on here, I'm just totally screwed and I lose my floorboard and I lose all of my assignments. It's not like there's any indicator, right? This is just blind. You just know where your pedals are and you know that your pedal's underneath this and that you can do it, and then changing the parameters doesn't affect it. With the Fender, you can't do that. And I think that's definitely something to work on because I don't like the idea of losing my whole floorboard. When it comes to assigning foot switches, that makes the Quad way quicker. There's no foot switch assign button. Like you don't need to access a separate foot switch assign menu, then pick the plus sign, then you have to select what you want to do. It's a little bit of a pain where on the Quad Cortex, if I select my pedal and I want it to go to a foot switch, I could hit this and then I press the foot switch. Not even close workflow wise. I mean, that's so much faster and efficient to just be able to do that. Whereas like we did on here, it's got to be foot switch assign, plus, on, off, select, confirm. That's a lot of stuff. The reason that I get so critical with the ToneMaster Pro is that they were marketing this as the king of user interface and the easiest thing to use. And I don't want to take anything away from it because it is very easy to use. You can pull this out and put it in front of a baby and they can figure out how to build a basic signal chain and how to do everything. Everything is really nicely laid out. Everything's right here for you. It's all thought out and programmable. You don't need a manual to do it. But beyond that, I mean, how elementary are you as a person that you can't figure this stuff out? If you're buying a modeler, you've got to invest into the system and you've really got to learn how to use it. The Fender you don't need to learn how to use. I'll give it that. But once you do learn how to use it, I think it starts to fall apart compared to the Quad Cortex. When you figure out how to do these things, the workflow is flying. You know, so the more advanced workflow stuff, I think it gets edged on the Quad Cortex. So let's look at our stomp mode. This is where Tone Master Pro is going to take the lead again. Stomp mode on here, right? You can only swipe up and have this as your stomp mode. When you're in stomp mode on the Tone Master Pro, you have a blank layout. You can do whatever you want. So you have a blank canvas here to do with whatever you want. And you can just do your parameter change, amp control. Basically, you can bypass as many things as you want, and you can do the 5 parameter changes. So you can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parameter changes. So being that you can assign parameters to the Tone Master Pro, that's a huge advantage where the Quad Cortex can't do that yet. I don't know how. I don't get how we don't have parameter assignment yet. This is something that I think every unit needs to have at this point, where if I want more gain, I should be able to put it on a foot switch or have my gain vary from, you know, from stomp to stomp. And that should be something you're able to do in stomp box mode. Parameter controls and bypass assignments should be in your stomp mode. Quad Cortex can't do that yet. But what Quad Cortex can do is that you have scenes where you have 8 options for seamless switching, but then when you compare scenes to preset switching on the Tone Master Pro, you also are going to lose the battle because the Tone Master Pro can automatically switch to any one of these without any gap in the audio. If you change presets on here, if I go to my preset mode, I'm going to get a small gap anytime I change presets, which is definitely not cool. You don't want a gap when you're changing your preset. But here you don't even need scenes, which I think is cool. That's something that Fender's got right. There's no need for scenes or snapshots or anything because everything is seamless. All right, so I just pulled up a gigging preset when I use for Jessica Lynn. You can see here I have the 2 guitars. This is the second guitar. That's just Jessica's guitar. Jessica Lynn's the country artist I play for, also my wife. And in this preset, I have 3 amps. So I've got AC30, I've got Captures of a Silver Jubilee, and I've got my 64 Fender Bassman, specifically my 6G6 Fender Bassman amp. I'm really disappointed that they didn't put that into the Fender. Why Fender doesn't have more classic Fender amps is beyond me. I think that the amp selection was really shot. No matchless. I have a matchless DC30 and Fender Bassman, the two of the most recorded amps in history. I mean, they're classic amps, and they're in almost, well, my Bassman's not in any other modeler either. That's kind of annoying all around, but matchless is standard in every other, also the Soldano. So my amps aren't in, which I'm going to cry about. Anyway, not the point. When you assign everything here, now I'm in Tone Master Pro, you see how I have to slide. I don't like that. I like everything being visible. This grid is way better for me. I like being able to see things. I like being able to see what is happening. When I bypass something, I like to see the changes happen. So I like to know that things are turning on and off, where if I were to, it's like I want to be able to assign this from somewhere. They should add, and this is a note that they should use, if you could hit assign, just put an assign button right here, where you can tweak your adjustments, you can hit assign, and you can tap the foot switch and it'll go there. That would up the workflow game very much, in my opinion, instead of having to do the foot switch assign. Plus, on off, this is such a complicated process that's so unnecessary, in my opinion. So there's my 3 drive pedals, all able to be turned on and off. Whereas if I'm going to assign these here, I'm just going to tap, foot switch, tap, foot switch, tap, foot switch. So way easier to assign on the Quad Cortex. And again, I can see my changes being reflected. I don't have to just hope and pray that things are working when I'm not seeing them work. So let's talk about adjustments on the fly. When you're in Quad Cortex and you're in stomp mode, it takes over your screen, so you're not able to do anything, and that bugs me definitely. I would love to be able to make some adjustments from the bottom of the screen here, like if they just made, you see how they have this top bar? If this top bar was also at the bottom with one selected effect, whatever it is, if it's your amp setting or something, and you can make quicker adjustments. The Fender also doesn't have anything like that, but you can access your foot switches and not have to go into a menu for parameters. If I have to make an adjustment on here, all I have to do is tap, and bam, I can now tweak. I can tweak the knobs, and then I can exit that. To adjust on the Quad Cortex sucks. I've got to hit check mark. I've got to select the pedal. It's got to pull up the parameters. I've got to tweak. I've got to hit check, and then I've got to swipe back up. That is such a stupid process to me. There's got to be a quicker way to get your adjustments made on the Quad Cortex. Like, even if there's an edit button on these or something, I don't know, like if you hold it down, the parameters pop up or something. There's got to be something that can go on top of this menu. Boom, give me my parameters. Like you press and hold and you get your parameters. This is such a pain to have to check mark and swipe and find the menu, and very annoying to deal with on Quad Cortex. We're on Stompbox assignment. The ToneMaster Pro is fully customizable, but what's funny is like everything's made to be customized and is super easy to use, but you give everything the same color and it's either off or on. But you have the choice as a user. You could go to your foot switch assignment. You could pick this and you can have an active color and a deactive color. So if I want to make the Prince of Tone purple, because that's what the real one is, I can do that right here. What I do wish that they did have was the dimming. So you see how you have a dimly lit blue light and then a bright blue light. I don't know if you could totally make that out on camera, but it's dimly lit and then it's there. So if you know your drive pedals are all one color, you know your modulations are one color, that will help you see that. But again, the scribble strips went out also because you could actually read the name of the pedal, look down and see that this is my royal tone. So something worth noting. I don't know if that's one better than the other or not. About a wash for me. Some other things that are, I guess, worth noting, just a couple of notes here. The ToneMaster Pro has one separate mic input. The Quad Cortex has two combis, so you can plug a 1/4 inch or an XLR into this. So you can put two microphones in the Quad Cortex, one in the ToneMaster Pro. You could do amp captures with the Quad Cortex, so if your amp, like my 63 Bassman, isn't in your unit, I can go ahead and make my own capture of it and have my sounds built in. Other things worth mentioning, you have a cool jewel light on the Fender. You can't ignore the jewel light. And you have a good power supply. So the power supply is internal. It's an IEC cable like it should be on the ToneMaster Pro. I really wish the Quad Cortex had a better power supply. This cheap chintzy wire is only going to last so long. It's just inevitable that those are going to break. So I do wish that there was an IEC cable or a better option for power for the Quad Cortex. You also have the grounding issues with Quad Cortex because it's a two-prong power supply. The system doesn't get grounded until there's an XLR cable in it. Why would that ever be a thing? I don't understand. But you'll get, if you're having a Quad Cortex at home and you're just plugging your headphones in or going into studio monitors, you might find you're getting a lot of ground hum. And that's because the unit's not grounded. You have to actually plug an XLR cable in to ground the unit. Another big criticism. ToneMaster Pro doesn't have anything like that. They have a proper IEC cable that's going to actually ground it and be normal like every other unit. We also have 4 effects loops on the ToneMaster Pro where QC only has 2, but they do have those analog ones that are good for fuzzes and stuff. And USB, the Quad Cortex is regular old home plate USB, the old printer cable. ToneMaster Pro is USB-C, which is a nice touch, little move into the future for the ToneMaster Pro. I think that does it for this video. This was just kind of me running through a couple of thoughts here, building a preset next to one another and seeing what they looked like side by side. Managing the touchscreen, I think the touchscreen on the Quad's a little bit better, higher quality, and a little bit faster response. It's a tough call here. I would only edge the Quad Cortex because you have amp captures, and it just seems like a more reliable option right now. I don't fully love the whole sliding through here on the ToneMaster Pro. I like the seamless switching, but I can also do scenes on here. It's tough. I don't know which one would totally win out, but I think I would lean towards Quad Cortex right now. But that's not to say the Fender can't change my mind. But yeah, as of right now, those are my thoughts. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you made it this far in the video, thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.